Nate, which is good. All right, minutes, the conversation about the minutes and the submission of the September 19th, 2022 minutes to be posted. They were approved at the May meeting, and I will somehow get it together to get the other minutes of March 13th, 2023 over to you for posting as well, pending my purchase of yet another Epson
Another what?
all-in-one, Epson
Oh.
all-in-one, cheapo, El Cheapo, $99 thing, croaked, and I haven't gotten over that yet, so I bought a new one.
My $49 one is working fine.
It is good. Excellent. Next on the agenda is our town administrator report. What is going on?
I've been telling people that in the summertime, there is everything and nothing going on at the same time. Kelly, the town accountant, Mary, the treasurer collector, the finance staff, and myself have been doing budget closeout, which is what we'll talk mostly about and as part of the next budgetary line item. I've already begun thinking about FY25 and putting together documents and making lists of things I think I did well in my first budget process, things I thought I could learn from, and I will review that going into my second year. This time I will be able to participate in the budget process from the beginning, so I think that will make a major difference. Unfortunately, with the next line item, with the next item on our agenda, I do feel as if last year's cuts to meet the requirements of the Quabbin Regional School Assessment increased the amount of year-end budget transfers that we ended up meeting.
I'd say.
Like, so it's, yes, there
Yeah.
were some issues and some unfortunate mishaps and some unexpected issues, but I think we could have handled it a little better with that extra little bit of cushion. So I'm hoping that we can make it to special town meeting and cover this year's assessment without making any cuts. That's not going to be pretty either, because in order to do that, as outlined in the budget I sent you guys last month or the month before, would be kind of using a ton of free cash on top of free cash we've already used, and kind of halving our stabilization monies for the year. But I'm still looking at different ways that we could potentially fund this without having to rob Peter to pay Paul and move forward.
Okay.
We're unfortunately going to have to look at much more extreme options, so I will be presenting, as the select board asked me to research, on what I believe a Proposition 2.5 override would look like, both in terms of finance, in terms of timeline, and in terms of action plan. As everybody knows, since the implementation of Proposition 2.5, and I believe 86 or 87, Hubbardston has tried a good amount of times, like 20, maybe a little bit less, and each time it lost without really being too close. I'm hoping to be able to do a real communications plan to at least get it out there to the people and hold this type of vote, if all of the approval is given, at a larger election than, say, an annual town meeting with no contested races. And at that point, if we hold one at a larger race with 30% plus of the voter turnout, and it's still turned down overwhelmingly, at least then we know where we truly stand. So
I would be interested in knowing context around the different attempts that were made?
I'll tell you right
What
now.
was the override? What was the amount of the override? What was its purpose?
Would you like to know that right now? So I can pull that up.
Oh, well, yeah, I
All
would like to
right.
know it right now, yeah.
Give me 1 second.
I thought we did pass one when the school project.
Debt.
Years ago.
That might have been a debt exclusion
there-
thing, but
there
not
were
a,
debt
not a
exclusion.
Okay.
override. Cause I think there might be a couple of those floating around.
There were debt exclusions passed in the past, but not
Not an override.
an override.
Hmm. You know what, while you're doing that, I forgot, I should have put this down on the, agenda, so we're gonna jump to other new business and matters not anticipated by the chair or and/or forgotten by the chair. Which is we need to elect new officers
do.
for
I thought it would.
our new fiscal year.
New office? Sorry?
New officers, yes,
Okay.
cause our chair,
Chair.
and this chair and vice chair and secretary.
That is true. Would you like me to, Madam Former Chair? Would you
Sure.
like me to run the election?
Yeah, right now.
All right. Thank you for attending the Finance Committee election for the FY 2024 fiscal year. I, as Town Administrator, will now open the floor for nominations for Chair.
Susan.
So there's a nomination for Susan Rain. Is there a second?
Yay, all in favor.
Any other nominations? All in favor for Susan to act as chair? All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, you may
All right.
continue with the elections.
Okay, who wants to be vice chair?
He's experienced, I'll just.
All right, that sounds good. All right, any other nominations? All in favor of Chuck? Yay. And I am gonna do everybody a giant favor and I will be the secretary again. Hearing no objections. All right, meanwhile, have you found your
I did.
stuff? All right, let's see.
This will probably be easier if I just print this out, huh?
No, it's all right. I don't need the paper. I'm just wanted to see, get a sense of
Yeah.
what we were looking to do.
Fiscal year 92 was a loss for a school assessment. 413 no, 362 yes, so that was probably the closest
For the
one.
amount, these are the amounts?
The amount was $77,000.
And they said no?
And they said no. 1992 was a tough year.
And 77,000 would be a lot of money then, back then as well, I'm assuming.
And then the largest one was probably
There's what, there's a big fat one.
650 in 2008 for funding the operation budget of the town and the public schools, it lost by, no, this is the closest one, 600 to 567.
Whoa,
Lost by
Is
40
it
votes.
a majority you need or 2/3?
it's 2/3,
I
isn't it?
wanna say it's
Override.
2/3.
Yeah, that's what I thought, so.
Wow, 500,000, these were for the operating budget, oof, oof, oof. Oof. Alright.
33,000 for the library? No. Like,
27 for the Quabbin,
Yeah,
oh, RSD, okay.
yeah, a lot of
Alright.
Quabbin.
Yeah, well, yeah.
yeah. So,
Numbers, yeah. Alright, so kinda all over the place.
all over one direction of the place.
Well, it's all. some
Oh,
of
in
it's-
terms of money, yeah.
Well, dollar amounts is all, certainly all over the place, but generally it seems to cluster around roads, school,
Public safety.
and then, is there some public, where's the public safety?
Yeah.
Was it in there?
Yeah.
I believe you, but I didn't notice it.
Police, fire, highway, libraries, facilities, repairing secondary roads, general operating, increasing police patrol shifts.
Jeez.
Overwhelmingly, it's the school though. Funding for public safety budget, 142,000. A tool I did create that is not live out there yet is this little calculator that, say we were looking for a $500,000 override and your house was assessed at $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
Made this calculator that would then show you, oh, that's $40,000. So a half a million dollar override for someone with a home assessed at $400,000 in this year's finances would be $324 in 1 year. That would obviously be divided by 4. For
So it'd go up $80 a quarter.
for $1 million, it would be $647 for the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this tool will be valuable once we actually have more numbers and can
Mhm.
actually put in FY24 values.
Mm-hmm.
But
As long as it doesn't scare people.
I don't think it's scaring people. It's a lot of this, and what I'm going to be speaking about next month is the communications of it.
Yeah, no,
Like you have
makes sense.
to do varying levels of communications, whereas yes, the videos and the social media impressions are going to matter, but so is a evening meeting at the senior center.
Right.
So you kind of got to go all over the place, but that's kind of a
Definitely a positive, people will know. Sometimes it's the unknown that scares people, so
Yeah.
knowing how much they're gonna increase is a good thing.
that's the coming soon portion of this evening's meeting.
All right.
But other than that, things have been going as good as they have been.
Right. Okay, so talk more about, what role you would see the finance committee playing in
So-
this process.
So I was tooling around with asking the select board to appoint an override study committee to kind of drive this, but where my mind is going right now is I'm hesitant to become too kind of board creative, because we are already having a hard time filling the seats that we do have. So the other concept that I've been kind of working with is potentially having the finance committee be said board.
Mhm.
That's not where, I'm not at a final presentation yet where, and I haven't had a ton of input from anybody. This is actually the first time I'm mentioning any of this on a live public meeting.
Mhm.
But those are kind of the two routes I'm going, cause I know there's going to need to be more buy-in than just from staff and elected and appointed volunteers, because there are legal obligations from the Office of Campaign and Political Finance on what staff members can do.
Mhm.
Like, we can, as a staff member, I can present numbers
Mhm.
and tell you factual information. And as the town administrator, it's obviously gonna sway in one way. But I can't present, this is why you should vote yes, without also presenting, this is why you should vote no. A committee could have more of a stance.
I don't know that the finance committee can, because I asked town council about this once upon a time. And I would have to fish out her answer, but my general sense of things was that if any of us wanted to have a more, a more active stance with respect to a particular position, it might be better for us to step down.
If you
So-
could find that, because that might solve my question for me.
Yeah, so, let me see, I
Yeah.
can probably find
I've
that
got-
and see what she said.
I was ready to do the presentation this upcoming Monday,
Mhm.
but there was so much on the agenda. I was just, something had to be pushed, and it was that.
Mhm.
So, and that'll give me another month to rattle it around before coming out live with it. Yeah, other than that, things are going pretty good. Like-
Alright. Good, any questions from anybody?
Nope.
Alright, now we're gonna talk about these transfers.
Yep.
What is going, I opened this up and then I closed it, I said, why, do not know what is happening here, and we're gonna have to talk about all this. What happened?
I did my best to explain it.
Well, explain it again.
So as I stated at the beginning of the meeting, I do believe that our transfer request this year was amplified by the fact that there was a deduction early in FY '23. A lot of the wiggle room, but there's not wiggle room, a lot of the money that would have been used to offset some of the variables over the course of a fiscal year weren't there this year. So at this time, I guess I'll start at the beginning and walk through kind of what I outlined in this letter to you about what each request individually is about. The select board has a $8,875 deficit. That is because of unforeseen legal costs that we had spoken about at
Yes.
another meeting. I think Jeff and I went a little too far into detail at that meeting, so if anyone wants to remember that, you can go back and look at that meeting. It
I
was 2 or 3
remember
months
that,
ago.
is this bleeding stopped? That sounds like a no. Is that a no?
Hopefully,
Has this matter been settled?
no.
Oh, I thought it had been.
This matter is a personnel matter that
remember.
that also has some very strong feelings involved in it. So there is nothing, no complaints or anything like that active. There is no ongoing litigation, but the involved party does still contact the municipality a lot. It's become mostly just negative emails at this point, so I'm hoping there's no more financial ramifications. But I can't say that with
They are
100%
not,
surety.
this is not attenuating, this is,
No.
the rate is constant. Is it accelerating?
No.
It's just constant, okay.
Yeah, and it's
Well, that's
constant,
good.
it's constant at nothing right now, except for a once in a while legal response to one of their claims.
No, I'm asking
Or-
a different question. How often is the complainant, is the rate of complaints from the complainant increasing,
No,
decreasing? It's constant.
It's constant.
It's constant, okay. All right.
There's emotions in this, like it goes a lot
Of course there are.
deeper than an issue with the town. But that's that, and the town administrator's line
Where would this money come from? Where would the 8875 come from?
So that's what we're talking about. All of these in the transfer in category need money transferred into them. All of these in the transferred out category have extra money in the lines.
Oh.
So those two numbers cancel each other out.
Okay, good. What I am used to seeing are specific transfer requests asking for a transfer in to the select board and then identifying the accounts or account or accounts
Yeah.
where the money is coming from. So you would, the 8875 will come from one or more of these other accounts that you have listed here, right?
Since it's the end of the year, they canceled out all of like the supplies services lines. I can provide you with what the generalized number is, but it's losing its last 4 digits.
Well, I don't really care about that, I'm just describing the process that I am
Mhm.
that I'm used to seeing. So if that's not something that needs to be carried forward, or was just an administrative thing and you're doing it differently, that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's,
Okay.
I looked at 5 or 6 other towns and how they did it, and it was very similar to this, as long as
Numbers.
those two numbers were the
Wash.
same,
Mhm. Okay,
then that was the.
okay, that's fine, all right.
So
in-
we have $12,000 left over from last year's account, or is this fiscal
Mhm.
24 that we're taking?
23.
No, this is this year's, this
Well,
is their
well, no, I know these are 23 bills, but the $12,000 from finance,
It's
we
from
had that,
23. Yep.
we had that money
Because
left over?
you had 30 and you approved 1 or 2 of the requests that came in over the winter, but
We
not,
sat on the legal bills,
Yeah,
that I remember.
but not the third one.
Okay.
And that's why there's still that 12-1 remaining in your line item.
Okay. All right, okay, good, okay.
I guess instead of reading my whole letter, does anyone have any specific questions about any of this?
Well, let's see,
The snow and ice is an every year occurrence.
yeah,
The amount in the animal control is wrong, it's 49, it should be 449.
You are correct. Go fix that right now.
do the numbers still foot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Snow and ice is just, we're not getting any additional money back from the state for?
No. So, but per state guidance and policy, you're allowed to deficit spend in snow and ice,
Right.
because, or else towns would say, oh, can't do it, sorry, come help us.
Oh, so we got spanked on health insurance this time. In previous years, I think we had gotten lucky. And the increases weren't as high as we had budgeted for them, but apparently that didn't work out this time. Okay.
So with the dispatch, we then have received the grant, is that why?
Yes.
Okay.
So he assesses us ahead of receiving the state 911 grant. I had a conversation, so did Ryan, so have other town administrators with him about, you're a 911 dispatch center. If you ever didn't receive the state 911 grant, wouldn't that be odd? And yes, it would be. He is every year likely to receive the state 911 grant that they received as kind of seed money for starting this whole operation. But he cannot that early as we need an assessment estimate with 100% certainty say that they're getting it. Is he likely getting it? Yes, and everybody knows that. So most of the town administrators don't budget to his full assessment. As I didn't this year, Barry didn't, so would he probably prefer that we did, just in case? Yes. But this year we budgeted at 125 around there. It came in at 103. Last year we budgeted at 115, came in at 98. So even with a large increase that I am anticipating, I budgeted around, without looking at it, I believe it went 125, anticipating that if it jumps up even by a good margin, it'll be 110, 115. So.
Alright, I do not have any questions about this, do you,
No.
gentlemen? No? Alright, so I'm taking motion to approve these transfers as
Make the
presented.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for catching that.
Go.
You.
Alrighty.
You know, we wouldn't have given you the $400 later.
That's right, don't come back. Alright. Other new business and matters not anticipated by the chair. Chair is done anticipating and remembering business. Anybody else with anything? You gonna need us, what else are you gonna need us for this summer? Anything? What's next, what's coming next?
I'll need you likely around tax rate time. I'll need you, which
When's
is the
that?
end of the summer,
Alright,
early September. I'll
Alright.
need you likely around when we're setting the special town meeting, which will be likely around that same time. On Monday, I wrote correspondence to the select board asking them to at least give me a time frame. I proposed late September or early October,
okay,
but it is up to them at the end. But I wanted a time frame to be able to come to the finance committee, go to the department heads and go speak with the moderator about what we can do. Cause in a perfect world, I'd like to have a little bit more of an attractive special town meeting than, hey, we're here to vote for the rest of the assessment, have a good night. So. I know there are a couple planning initiatives that may be ready by mid-fall time. There are a few hiccups, such as when we did the annual town meeting money to fix the cable advisory committee monies. I should have done it as 2 articles and not one. One fixing the deficit from FY23 and the other funding FY24. So I'll have to do that. Any money we're gonna be putting away in stabilization, we'll have to do that. So there are a number of things. Hopefully by that time, if we do it late September, early October, free cash for FY24 will be certified. So
what do we think free cash for 24 might be?
lower than free cash for 23.
No, I know that, what do we
Yeah.
think, what do we think it might be?
I know we have about $75,000 to $100,000 extra, like floating around that will roll over.
Yeah.
And then I've yet to have a conversation with our assessors about what they truly believe new growth will be. I believe I estimated new growth at 60, and last year it came in at 115. So that's where a majority of our remaining amount of free cash would be. That's the variable, and the other variable is our revenue is gonna come in higher than we anticipated them. So we won't know exactly what free cash is until it's certified. I'll be able to have a decent guess within the next couple weeks, and I'm gonna be writing a budget report about that.
Okay.
So that'll be, cause Mary and Kelly are still very much actively closing out right now.
Okay.
Cause the last A&P was last week.
Okay. What, Chuck, do you remember what our fiscal 24, capital budget dollar amount might be?
380?
380, 390.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to, with the capital improvement committee, kind of revamp the capital plan process this year, cause there was not a lot of attractive things remaining on it after CARES and ARPA came in, fortunately, but I think it's time to draft up the next 5 to 10 years
Okay.
and what our goals are.
Okay. Are you still willing to be on the capital committee? Okay, good. Very good. When was, has anybody met at any point now? Okay,
Typically in
nobody's
the
doing
fall.
anything yet?
Yeah,
Okay, not till the fall.
that'll be in the fall, right around that same
All right.
time.
Okay,
I'm gonna look at what some other communities have done in the past
Mhm.
and kind of create a process similar to what I see as worked in other communities. I want to get rid of all the paper. So, cause it shook me when I walked in and Sandy said, "Here's the capital list," and handed me
what's in it?
a packet, all of the requests from the last.
Well, because everybody wants all this supporting documentation
Okay, but
justifying why they wanna spend
You can PDF your
it.
supporting documentation and attach it to the file.
Well, anyway, cool,
Digitization. Modernization.
Something that's not finance but is cool is the Laserfish project is live. So you can go and check out all of your assessment, building, and finance public records on the town website.
oh, that's excellent. Okay,
Nice indeed.
that is very good to know.
Any, sorry,
No.
any discussions about, a new building?
The Public Safety Building Committee had its first meeting. It was very organizational, and they have the second meeting on July 24th. As of right now, they're all reviewing documents from the past and doing some research on public safety facilities that the committee could go visit. So,
That's what I was gonna ask. Do we have, changing the subject back to the override, we have our own history of of the
sure do.
0 and 30 outcomes. What makes for a successful override bid, and what towns have achieved this status?
Oh, you will find that out, but you have to wait until August 7th.
Oh, so you've got all this
I
stuff.
do. I have all this stuff. I was ready to let it go, but wanted to give myself a little more time with it, so.
How about a spoiler?
Well, a lot of what you can see Towns have been successful.
I know they have, and I wanna know what they did.
The ARPA monies, that's been spent, everything got approved
It's
and,
long gone.
yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, it's long gone in terms of approvals, I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody ever got any or what
They
happened.
did, and
Okay.
there is still a decent amount in the ARPA funds. I can send you the report.
No, I don't need the report. It's not like it's an unclaimed funds with somebody who was supposed to get it, didn't come and get it, so.
One second. Finding anything you're actually looking for is very difficult. Here's your sneak peek. Forty-seven communities have proposed 84 overrides between FY 20 and 23, and those are the win-loss records.
Okay.
So communities are becoming more favorable towards the concept,
Mm-hmm.
but we still, as Hubbardston, hold a
Special place.
quite large loss record.
Yeah, but I saw some of those towns too. Most of them very well-to-do communities.
Yes,
Like Shrewsbury.
yeah.
Shrewsbury, Winchester.
I mean, when I saw
Yeah.
Winchester and Norwood,
Top
yeah.
overrides by amount: Winchester, Shrewsbury, Norwood, Arlington, Melrose.
Okay. Building a fun school. Alright, so the same subject matter, interesting, okay.
I have a meeting with the Shrewsbury Town Administrator at some point I've reached out to Kevin because the way they did it was different than some other communities have done it.
And was he the sheriff when the thing
Yeah.
went through?
Yeah.
Okay, so he has direct knowledge.
Yeah, and I have to figure out, I don't even know how to exactly say what it is. They created a override stabilization fund that put the entirety of, let's say, $9 million into an account, and then they're using it over time, and it doesn't hit the tax rate until such time as the money
It's
is used. So I'm gonna be looking into that, cause maybe something like that would be considered more favorable. We're a little bit behind right now, so there are some
Things would hit right away.
things would need to be used right away to both fix problems and be preventative and preventing another massive turnover. Or there are a variety of problems that could arise and could be solved with an override. But who knows? I'm gonna present on it on August 7th.
Okay.
And from there, it is
Right.
up to the elected officials to determine the way in which we go.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And what about any progress or potential progress about working with the other towns with the school budget?
We're entering year 3 of Squeaky Wheel, like possibly more. We've tried to reach out. I'm really hoping that this positive interaction with the new superintendent leads to, at the very least, us knowing a little bit more ahead of time. I don't think there's going to be drastic changes in terms of it being 6, 7, 8, 9% year over year, because we are still building homes and things still are progressively getting more expensive. Like, the school, as we all know, didn't just pick a random number and say, hey, you know what, Hubbardston, this is what you're getting. There was a sizable increase in the amount of Hubbardston children that were going to the school last year. Not sizable like, say, Boston, but 15 kids versus the number of kids that are there in total is a decent percentage jump. So, yeah, I'm just hoping we can. And because the Hardwick town administrator does work with me, but that ends up being a conversation that is, wow, I wish my board would stand up like your boards do. Because a lot of these towns, it ends up being the same as it always has been. Oh, it's not us this year, just like, so, not to say anybody in particular did that or that they would. I'm sure everyone has their own reasons for fighting or not fighting any sort of increase. But the superintendent from last year and the school committee is not wrong, and I've said this 100 times, like, the major problem is the formula that the state runs. But we are not fortunate in having the money to wait that out, if it ever happens. I think we're fortunate for having our former state senator selected as the rural affairs person, so maybe Ann will be able to kind of make that case to the governor directly, or to the governor's employees directly, but that's the best shot we've got.
Well, presumably, at the time that we entered into the regional agreement with the other towns, this was seen as the lesser of the expensive alternative to having our own K through 12 here in Hubbardston. So presumably
I don't know if there would be enough students to fill.
Well, you know,
But that's not my background is determining how many kids fill a school.
well, the only example that I have to the contrary, but I don't know anything about the financing or how any of it works, is Greenville, Maine, where I have my little vacation house. The population is roughly the size of Hubbardston. It has its own K through 12.
Mhm.
It's not regional. And they do a bang-up job. And they foot the bill. Now, I don't know,
What the
as I
bill
said,
is.
you know, what that looks like, what the state contributes, I don't know, or what any of the details are around that, and I also don't know how much money it takes to run that thing. It's an older building, it's not swanky new, big grounds and all this kind of stuff. It looks like the old timey school in a little village that you would go to. But they do it.
In
So
mo-
I'm just saying that it is, the town size or the population size doesn't really
No.
matter.
From the towns I've worked in, I've come to realize that in general, 55 to 60% of your budget being for education is in round numbers and only round numbers about what it costs everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like Gardner's about 63, Marlboro was in the same area, Shirley was the regional school was in the same area, so.
Right, but do they experience the same squeezes on everything else? Are their tax rates high enough, or have they voted for overrides in a way to keep other costs?
I have not worked in or
Competitive.
served any community that has passed an override. Gardner, much like Hubbardston, has a long history of no.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Right,
It
but
probably depends on the per capita income of the area. I'm pretty sure it's correlated.
Oh, absolutely.
oh, yeah, I'm sure. Okay. All right. Any other business for us? Anybody else?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, okay, adjourned at 7:17.